Welcome in to News and Views with Tom Lamprecht. The stories you've heard and the ones you need to hear.
And for those remaining Americans, there is no deadline.
Get the rest of our Americans out of Afghanistan.
This is where they've lived. This is where their family members are. This is their community.
This is a fiasco.
I think there are hundreds, if not thousands, of Americans left behind.
A humiliating failure.
Your life.
Race theory bill. I know it's not technically called that, but you'll recognize it when we get there. First off, a number of media outlets are reporting on a gunman injured one student earlier today at a North Carolina high school. The suspect is still on the loose. Shooting occurred up in Winston-Salem at Mount Tabor High School. Forsyth County Sheriff's Office tweeted, "All other students are safe and being taken to the local Harris Teeter where they can be reunited with their parents." The big part of the story is the shooter is still on the loose. The good part of the story is, one, I believe it was a young man, was injured, and he's going to be fine, so no loss of life. But you wonder, is it gang-related? Is it some narcissist that feels they got to get their name in the news? Anyway, we'll keep an eye on that. Greg Murphy released a statement earlier today. The news that TCOM, a global leader in airborne persistent surveillance solutions with manufacturing and testing facilities in Elizabeth City, has received a $217 million contract from the Army. This contract will be to procure 10 modified 13-meter persistent surveillance system tethered blimps, basically. It's interesting. They've got some huge. I was looking online. They've got some of these huge facilities that can hold these blimps that are tall, big, and there's a picture of it right there. We're going to take a look at it. But anyway, big news for the folks up in Elizabeth City. Congratulations. That TCOM is headquartered out of Columbia, Maryland, and they manufacture those up. And, Elizabeth City was originally one of the blimp manufacturing sites during World War II.
I remember reading that. That's
they still have these huge domes up there. Mm-hmm. What would you call them? Hangars, I guess, for blimps. But
it's
they're
a big
huge.
Coast Guard station up there, the regional.
Yeah. Right there at the Coast Guard station is where they did the blimps.
This will be really good for northeastern North Carolina.
It helps big time.
It's really almost a different part of the state. It's just like eastern North Carolina needs a lot of things. That area of the state's probably needs it as much as any.
Yeah, big time. Interesting story on CNS News. Senator Rand Paul is inviting journalists who have attacked his stance on the value of natural immunity and opposition to COVID mask mandates and vaccine passports to read the results of a new study. Quote, this is from Rand Paul. Oh, did he really?
Yeah, I just got to...
Oh, okay. Just backing up real quickly. I said that the young man who was injured up in at that shooting in Mount Tabor, our producer just said that he passed away. So we do not have a name, but please keep that family in your prayers. Apparently WRAL just announced that that young man passed away.
That's two shootings in the last 10 days or so here in Wilmington.
Sad. Oh, boy. It breaks your heart. There's a family whose heart is broken tonight. A lot of death in our society. Getting back to Rand Paul. So he says, go read this new study. Quote Rand Paul, "To every snot-nosed journalist who accosted me in the halls of Congress and spouted Fauciisms integrating natural immunity, read the science." Denigrating natural immunity, read the science. Paul tweeted that earlier today. It's the Harvard epidemiologist says the case for COVID vaccine passports was just demolished. That's the name of the article. It is by the Foundation for Economic Freedom, FEE. You can read this article at fee.com. I think it's also on our website, ENC News and Views. Quote, new research found that the natural immunity offers more protection than COVID-19 vaccines, the FEE website says, explains that in an article reporting the results of the study. Put another way, vaccinated individuals were 27 times more likely to get asymptomatic COVID infection than those with natural immunity from COVID. So and this has been my pet peeve for some time now. If you listen to this program for any length of time, you know I keep harping on this, that they keep pushing the vaccine when if you've had COVID, according to this study, you're 27 times less likely to be a problem with COVID than those people that are merely relying on the vaccine. Now, the study goes on to say that a combination, and Benny is in this category, the combination of being both vaccinated and having COVID providing even more protection. So if you've had COVID, you're in a lot better shape than just getting the vaccination. If you've had COVID and you've got the vaccination, you're even in better shape. But this is it makes you wonder, why do they not look at the antibodies that one carries? Why do they not? I mean, they're constantly telling us to look at the science, look at the data. Well, here you've got it right in front of you. Harvard study. And this is based on a study that was done in Israel. The study demonstrated that natural immunity confers longer lasting and stronger protection against infection, symptomatic disease, and hospitalizations caused by the Delta variant compared to the two-dose vaccine-induced immunity. Individuals who were both previously infected with COVID and given a single dose of the vaccine gained additional protection against the Delta variant. An article published last Thursday in Scientific American notes the study is reportedly the largest real-world observational study so far to compare natural and vaccine-induced immunity. It is a textbook example of how natural immunity is really better than vaccination, said Charlotte Talon, a physician and immunology researcher. To my knowledge, she said, it's the first time this has really been shown in the context of COVID-19.
You know, there's been other studies that out of Johns Hopkins, there was one, and I don't understand it, how the community, the CDC community, the political, you know, all of a sudden, you know, our political experts in Washington are now scientists and medical experts. Yeah. But they discount these guys, and they're, you know, they're famous in their fields for knowing this type of knowledge, and they just get tossed to the side and ignored. And this is just another case. Since it's coming out of Harvard, I wonder if it'll be more gospel since it's Harvard.
Well, it's interesting if it's somebody that they agree with that helps project their ideology, then they're all about the science and data. But Marty Makary out of Johns Hopkins, they ignore him, and they'll probably ignore this one as well. And
you know, social media, all the social media platforms, whether it be, you know, Facebook, Google, Instagram, Twitter, you just name them. These people, I mean, they just get banned. I mean, there's a guy recently got banned from Twitter, got kicked off of Twitter because he's just reporting actual facts, but it doesn't fit the narrative. It makes you just wonder, where's all this lead? It's such a collusion up there.
Good question. I mean, we're going to take a break a little early today because we're going to be joined by Representative Chris Humphrey, who represents parts of Lenoir and Pitt County. And he's going to be talking about HB 324. The official name of the bill is Ensuring Dignity and Non-Discrimination in Schools. We'll be talking about that. And we'll also be getting a perspective from Candy Smith, a representative in the Democratic Party who represents parts of Pitt County. And I would say it's fair to say that she and Chris would not agree on this bill. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
And we're on location at one of my favorite places in the whole planet because this is some of the best food you're ever going to eat in your life. We are at Nino's on Red Banks Road in Greenville. It's one of my hangouts. It's one of the places that I love. I got my friend Pietro Pasalacqua. How'd I do?
You did great.
Let's talk about the food. What makes this place? I know it's special Italian from authentic Italians, but tell us why it's so special.
Because everything we do, it's really what we came up on the menu from what we did at home, from my grandparents, my parents. So it's exactly what we eat at home, and that's the way we cook. That's why it's special.
And the atmosphere in this place is special also. From the bar to the two dining areas, you got two different dining areas, and now the weather's nice, so there's going to be a lot of folks that want to eat outside.
Yeah, we have two rooms. One room is designed a little different. We're also working on the patio to make it more attractive and more useful in the summer with a cocktail service. And we're always improving our services.
And, of course, my friends here, my buddy, Chef Massimo, who I love, and Sal and Pietro, you guys do a great job here. Not just Italian, but I had a great pork chop here the other night. You got great steaks, too.
Mm-hmm. Yes, we're also adding filet mignon in the future on our menu. And Massimo is coming out with a really good side dishes for it. And so we're really excited to come out with new meats and fish dishes.
All right, Nino's on Red Banks Road in Greenville. Same people that give you Marabello's and the great pizza that you get at Marabello's, but this is fine dining at Nino's. If you haven't been here, you don't know what you're missing. Come see them at Nino's on Red Banks Road. And Pietro, what is that famous saying about Nino's?
The food that you enjoy with people that you love.
Top Dog Academy is Eastern North Carolina's complete dog training facility. Top Dog provides an excellent environment for dogs of all ages with training services and work week daycare. Top Dog is located on Highway 43 South, just 4 miles from Bells Fork, and features a comfortable, healthy environment and a spacious facility for daycare and a brand new, beautiful facility for training. Call 752-8215 or visit TopDogOnline.com.
Come on out Highway 43 South to Top Dog Academy, where we know dogs.
Living easy is the sound of children laughing as you make memories with neighbors and friends. It's the sound of nothing at all. It's the smell of the salt air. Hear the waters against the marsh grass. See the beauty of our coast. Bow Coast, located in Beaufort, North Carolina. Southern living's best small town.
Back to news and views. Talk 96.3 and 103.7.
All right, welcome back in. The North Carolina Journal is reporting that House Bill 324, one of the most hotly debated bills, passed the House, has passed the Senate, and now goes to Roy Cooper. And unfortunately, he'll probably veto this bill, 324 bill, ensuring dignity and non-discrimination in the schools. The bill would ban the teaching of 13 discriminatory concepts in the classroom. And the bill is not that long. It's about 2.5 pages, double-spaced, and it's you can read it in about 2 minutes. Among other things, it would ban the concept that one race or sex is inherently superior to another race or sex, that an individual solely by the virtue of his or her race or sex is inherently racist, sexist, or oppressive, that an individual should be discriminated against or receive adverse treatment solely or partly because of his or her race or sex. A meritocracy is inherently racist or sexist. Particular character traits, values, moral or ethical codes, privileges, or beliefs should be ascribed to a race or a sex or to an individual because of an individual's race or sex. Now, one of the individuals who has sponsored this bill is Representative Chris Humphrey. We're going to bring him up in just a minute. But first, we'll get the perspective from Chris about someone who is obviously in favor of this bill as he sponsored it. But one of those people that were in opposition to this bill was Pitt County's own Candy Smith. Now, this is not her entire remarks, but this is pretty much encapsulates within a couple of minutes exactly how Candy Smith felt about this bill.
So we can agree that yes to both of these two statements are true. This country's constitution was signed exclusively by 39 white land-owning men who explicitly denied the same rights they gave themselves to women, minorities, indigenous Americans, and individuals who did not own land. Now, there's a problem here. According to this legislation, HB 324, if I were a teacher and if I taught these two facts in my classroom, I could be in violation of Part 8 of subsection C of this bill, which states that teachers cannot teach that, quote, the United States was created by members of a particular race or sex for the purpose of oppressing members of another race or sex. Now, perhaps we could have a debate about whether or not I did just violate that bill, but the more important point I want to make here is this bill is indeed a slippery slope. Yet, I stand here re-emphasizing the point I made back in May, the very first time we debated this bill. Whose truth is the truth? And who gets to decide that? This bill is so incredibly dangerous, but on top of that, it's also incredibly insulting for roughly 100 members of this legislative body to think that they know better about what should be taught in our schools than the 100,000 public school teachers who have made it their life's profession as teachers. My colleagues love talking about making decisions local and about getting big government out of our everyday life. Well, nothing screams big government like a purely partisan process dictating every facet of education down to what we can and cannot teach from history. I find this bill to be insulting to so many. A majority of this room seems to be under the impression that if we teach kids about racism or the racist history of this country, this will somehow automatically create a generation of racists. It is insulting to think that our kids cannot handle the truth. I'll be honest, this bill scares me, not only because of how insulting and degrading it is to teachers, to parents, and to students, but it also because of the fact that it leaves so many doors wide open. Who is in charge of enforcing this bill? Will DPI have a special unit that goes from school to school on a witch hunt trying to trap teachers? I really do believe that most people in this room understand that this bill serves no other purpose than to agitate people and to push us farther apart on cultural issues.
This bill will agitate people and push us farther apart. Are you kidding me? And that this is an insult to parents? Look around the country. Who is demanding that CRT be removed from the classroom? Mm-hmm. And again, this bill doesn't mention CRT by name, but yeah, it's there because CRT is being taught in our schools. And the idea that just because the Constitution was signed by a bunch of guys who are of European descent, if you go back to when the bill was signed in 1787, guess what? There weren't too many women running governments at the time. If you weren't a queen and a monarchy, then you really weren't in control or in charge. And boy, there's so many things that she said that is just unbelievable. But hey, we'll give both viewpoints here. Let's bring in Representative Chris Humphrey. Chris, welcome into News and Views. Good to have you back with us.
Hey, Tom. Good to be here. Thanks.
Benny is here as well, and you were one of the sponsors of the bill. What did you think as you heard Candy Smith share those remarks on the floor today?
Well, we heard a lot of spirited debate, and I'll be honest with you, from what I heard from the opponents of this bill, I was sitting there wondering if we were debating the same bill.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It seemed to me that there was a lot of discussion around items in this bill that just simply don't exist. I mean, this bill was created and authored and penned to make sure every student and every parent they sit in the classroom without being indoctrinated by a rogue teacher. and that's liberal, conservative, doesn't matter. We just want teachers to be able to teach history regardless of, whether it hurts or it feels good. I mean, this bill does nothing to stymie a teacher. There are teachers out there that will try to, press their beliefs upon students, and that's not their job. Their job is they can give an opinion, but to tell a student or to make a student feel inferior or ashamed because they're a member of a race who discriminated against another race or murdered another race. I mean, that's not what teaching is about, and but we want that stuff taught because we don't want to repeat those same tragedies that the others experienced. So I just sat there dumbfounded and tried to figure out what bill they were talking about.
Well, you have to come to the conclusion that it was their intent to misrepresent the bill as best they could so they could get into the News and Observer, and WRAL would pick it up, and they would have their little 30 seconds of sound bites on there to make it look like anybody that sponsors this bill is just a awful racist, and these people are trying to defend the Klan coming into our classroom, basically, is how they framed it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that they're trying to promote the national narrative of critical race theory, that it is, that certain groups of people are bad and they're just going to be bad and they can't change and they're evil and frankly, you guys probably feel the same way. I mean, we're tired of hearing it because that happened in the past, and while it is tragic and it's hurtful, and it frankly makes me upset to know that people were treated the way they were. We didn't have anything to do with that, and we don't want a white supremacist teaching these crazy theories to our kids either. We just want teachers to teach. I mean, just like most of us grew up with great teachers and they taught the facts, they taught us the ugly side of America, and we've left some things out of history. I mean, my goodness, we don't. There's not enough time in the school day to teach every aspect of history. So it's a national narrative by the liberal elitists who are trying to make us feel guilty for sins of our forefathers that we had nothing to do with.
And our forefathers were fallible men, and in some cases women. And you know what? You don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. I mean, you acknowledge the warts, but you also acknowledge the good things that they did. And for Candy Smith to try to denigrate and destroy the Constitution because at the time there were 39 old white guys that signed it. And you know what? They came up with a great document that served this country really well. It's only since we've gotten away from the Constitution that things have started to fall apart. Anyway, I digress. Again, it's a fairly short bill. Anybody could read it, and obviously those people that spoke in opposition to it did not read it. But Benny's here. He's got a question for you.
Yeah, Chris, I was looking at and listening to the debate on the floor today, and like you said, all the Democrats that came and basically had an argument, it was almost like they were reading on the same sheet of music. But I know one in particular, Representative Lofton from Mecklenburg County, which is a Democrat, said the bill encourages us to look away from our history. And just as Candy Smith said, she made a comment that about the bill that really absolutely has nothing to do with what the bill says. As Tom says, it's 2 pages long. It's pretty easy. But I break it down in simple terms. If you're a Democrat or if you're Roy Cooper and ultimately vetoes this bill, it's saying you're okay for our school system and a teacher in a school system to say that the United States was created by members of a particular race or sex for the purpose of oppressing members of another race or sex. I don't see how, if you believe in America, you can say that's okay to teach that in the classroom. Because if you vote against this bill, that's what you're saying. It's okay to teach that in our classroom, and that is not part of our history.
Absolutely not. I mean, and America, I mean, this country was founded by the oppressed. I mean, by the religious oppressed. So,
Good point.
It makes no sense. And, it's just, we know Governor Cooper's going to veto the bill. And, just the points that were made. I mean, one member got up and said, she was a teacher and a white student, I'm presuming, said that went back and told her parents she was saying, using foul language in the classroom, which I would never believe this lady would do that. I mean, I believe this lady was a great teacher, and I'm talking about Representative Rosa Gill, but I don't know, I didn't understand her point, how it was applicable to this bill. So it's almost like they're trying to grasp for
straws,
any sound bite. Yeah, look at a sound bite to just, like you guys said, make those of us who support the bill paint us as a bunch of racists. And
let me ask you this, Chris. You just mentioned that you think that Governor Cooper is going to veto it. Yeah, I think that's a safe bet. When you all were in the early stages of this, you probably knew it then that it would be vetoed unless you just got a huge majority. And by the way, it passed, I think, in the Senate and both in the House strictly along party lines. So unless you can convince some Democrats to come over, it wouldn't survive a veto. But when you were working on this bill, you obviously probably considered the fact that it would be vetoed, and yet you've continued to push this bill. Your strategy behind that, do you want to force the governor to take a stance on this bill? Do you think that would send a message to the state by making him veto?
It probably could. We don't usually go into every bill and try to determine whether or not the governor will, even though that is discussed. I mean, obviously it's got to be discussed, but I've been getting a lot of emails from all over the state regarding critical race theory. And while this bill isn't titled that, there's this national movement that really struck a nerve with parents across this country, quite frankly. And you got to listen to your constituents, and I think the bill was designed to obviously try to shed light on the topic, but knowing that the governor would veto it, I mean, that he's not up for re-election, so it doesn't really do a lot of good from a political standpoint. But it does show the state that the General Assembly's hears their cries, and we're listening to them. I mean, even though there's a push now for a full forensic audit. I don't know what a forensic audit is, but that's a topic for another day, and we'll address that down the road. But the people out there, parents, and we're just tired of this national noise, and I think it's time to put some legislators on the record. And to me, a vote against the bill is saying, yeah, you can go in the classroom as a teacher. You can basically do anything you want to do to my child. You can teach her whatever you think and try to force her to believe or force her to come around to your way of thinking. And this bill is designed to do the exact opposite.
We're talking to Representative Chris Humphrey. He was one of the sponsors for HB 324, which is entitled Ensuring Dignity and Non-Discrimination in the Schools. Simple bill. You can go look it up. It's about 2.5 pages. You can read it in just about 5 minutes. Chris, how much effect did the Lieutenant Governor, Mark Robinson, have? Now, I know he wasn't officially a sponsor of the bill, but just what he was doing with his task force and just how he put a spotlight on the issues that are covered in this bill. Were you and the other sponsors taking notice of his work while you were forming this bill?
Well, I attended the Senate hearing, and Lieutenant Governor is powerful voice, an African American male who, you know, he does not make excuses. He does not sugarcoat anything, and he basically tells it like it is. And he said that, you know, whatever happens to you is your fault. You know, which obviously that's a greater context, but you know, and I think that members, Democratic members, some African Americans, they don't agree with him, and you know, he's not afraid to call it like he sees it, and I think that he being you know, at the forefront of this issue is important, because it goes to show that this is not a bill that's trying to pinpoint a certain race or group, but we're just trying to make sure our students and our children are taught.
Well, quite the antithesis. You're trying to prevent pinpointing a race or a group. I mean, this critical race theory does the opposite of what this bill does, and it's, as Benny says, it's amazing to me that people would come up and call this bill racist when it's trying to prevent racism.
Well, you know, I won't put you on the spot, but I believe what this is. It's just part of the national effort, and the Democrats in North Carolina and the House and Senate is
and
just
the governor's house
and the governor is just following the party line, because this is a national effort to divide people and divide people by race, because they're absolutely afraid of the poll numbers for the last two elections when Donald Trump ran for president, and how the African-American vote went more Republican than it ever has before, and it scares the heck out of them.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I'll say it, whether you can say that or not.
Yeah,
Chris.
no, I mean, you're right, because if you look at the bill and you read it, it's a no-brainer. I mean, it is a no-brainer, but you're right. The National Democratic Party is reeling right now. They've got a president who can't, you know, find his way out of Washington D.C. and it's
can't find his way out of the White House.
Well,
come on, man.
And it's was that him?
Well, that was him. Yeah, he listens. He's right here. He tunes in. Absolutely.
What are we talking about?
Oh, man.
Hey, Chris, let me change gears with you a little bit here. The budget. I don't know if it was done in the House or the Senate, but you've integrated the emergency powers issue into the budget. How do you think that's going to fall out? Will you think the governor will veto it, and will you have a veto-proof vote to override any vetoes? Because he might like the budget, but he's not going to like giving up the emergency powers, which he's abused for 18 months now.
Yeah, you know, who knows? But if I'm the governor and there's a lot of policy in there that takes power away from me, I'm probably going to think twice about signing that. You know, we'll see how it shakes out. But you don't get everything you want in a budget. So I don't know, man. Maybe it's a great negotiating tool that was instilled in the budget to help move things along. I don't know. I'm just taking a wild guess.
Right.
That maybe that's the case. But yeah, things are moving along pretty good. We found out yesterday the House and the Senate are maybe closer than we think on a working out some details, and you know, the conference committee will get together and iron out some differences. Several Democrats on the conference committee, and I know in the House. So that's good. I mean, they'll have a seat at the table, and hopefully we'll be able to keep those numbers intact to override a veto in the House. Anyway, the Senate has a little bit. They got a little bit farther to go to get a veto, or veto-proof majority. But we'll see.
One last question, Representative Humphrey. I think it was earlier this week or late last week, Governor Cooper vetoed the bills you guys passed in the House and the Senate.
I think it was on Monday.
On Monday, was it Monday? Yeah,
so.
To basically end the 100-year gun permit bill in North Carolina, to end the gun permit requirement that kind of started during the Jim Crow era, interesting enough, and he vetoed that. Did you guys have enough votes to override his veto on that or not? I don't recall.
Yeah, I believe we did at the time, and we've got several members that are out with some sickness and some health issues, on the Republican side. So we'll get through this budget process, and then we'll look at hopefully trying to override some of those vetoes. But that one was, I guess, not too surprising. But you try to get a pistol permit in Wake County or Mecklenburg County, I mean, you're basically told that, they're so backed up and they just don't have time to get to them. So we've got to fix that. There's just no excuse for that kind of laziness to prevent a.
Well, is it laziness or is it part of their agenda? That's the other question too. Is it?
I think it's both.
Yeah.
I think it's both. I think it's more the agenda part. But I mean, it's a revenue stream for these sheriff's departments, and it's. The sheriff doesn't know everybody in the community like they used to. I mean, these transient days that we live in, so just makes sense to me.
Chris Humphrey,
get that step.
Representative, thank you for joining us this afternoon. Appreciate it. Thanks for your insights, and thank you for sponsoring this bill. You bet. Look forward to having you on again.
Absolutely.
All right. Chris Humphrey calling in from Raleigh. We're going to take another time out. Lots more to talk about. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Break the chain. Eat local. Tiebreakers.
Hey, this is Hank Hinton back here at Full Service Flooring in Winterville. I'm here today with Corey Little, who's the operations manager here at Full Service Flooring. Corey's been here 6 months, but you've been in construction a long time. Tell us about what you do here at Full Service Flooring.
Yeah, I got over here about 6 months ago. I've been in construction for, like I said, a little over 20 years, and I've known Tim for a long time now, and he's brought me over here to see what new kind of things I can bring to the store and to our customers. And I'm in charge of scheduling, and I don't know what else. I'm in charge of everything. It seems like we work together as a team and try to pull it all together. I might do a measure one day and do a commercial floor the next day, but we just kind of all work together and pull it all together at one time.
So what's new in flooring? What is the hot new thing?
The hot new thing is LVP or LVT, depending on what you're looking for, which look you're looking for. It's a waterproof product. It's absolutely fantastic. You can't really beat it.
A lot cheaper than hardwoods?
It is definitely a cost-effective alternative to hardwoods, yes, sir.
So, Corey, how is business right now?
And business is good. Despite the pandemic, we're still seeing a lot of new customers in the store, and we get an opportunity to introduce our products in a lot of different situations right now.
Corey, you've got a lot of experience in the construction industry. How is that helping you here with people, helping people with flooring here at Full Service Flooring?
Sure. I try to take the experiences that I've gained over my time in construction to help apply that to the flooring, whether it be with what the structure is made out of, the subfloor that we're going over top of, or maybe even just how it coordinates with your kitchen cabinets in construction or in your bathroom and how the tub and everything all ties together.
And a customer can just come here and see you anytime?
Absolutely. We're here 6 days a week, and we just love to see a new customer in here anytime. They can always call us and schedule something with us so we can make sure we have our time allotted for them.
Corey, thank you so much. That's Corey Little here at Full Service Flooring. Come see these guys. They're on Tilco Drive in Winterville, 756-9308 and fullserviceflooring.com.
This is your Drive at 5 and ENC with Tom Lamprecht. Welcome back to News and Views on Talk 96.3 and 103.7.
So Nancy Pelosi, Queen Nancy, showed her true colors yesterday when it came time to read the names of those servicemen and women who lost their lives. She refused to do so. The Federalist is asking an interesting question, which I've been asking since the drone strike happened and supposedly the high-profile terrorists were killed by the U.S. drone strike. How do we know it's true? Well, the Federalist asked the question, why won't the Pentagon name the high-profile terrorist allegedly killed in the U.S. drone strikes? Maybe because if they name them and then they show back up, there'd be a big whoops.
That's a good point.
Nobody's named them.
No,
it's still a secret.
And we've probably got some intelligence still on the ground, but it's not what it was because the CIA bugged out a few weeks ago.
Speaking of the CIA, the Daily Caller is reporting that a secret CIA compound outside of Kabul reportedly served as a base of operations for evacuations that avoided the Taliban checkpoints. Eagle Base, which until 2004 was home to the notorious prison known as the Salt Pit, was used from August 15th to the 28th to assist in evacuation efforts after the Taliban took control of Afghanistan. Now, this was reported first by the New York Times. The Daily Caller picked it up. Again, I'm sorry. You look at these things and you have to ask: is this propaganda from the Biden administration, or is it true? Red State is reporting former Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for Western Hemisphere Affairs Roger Pardo-Mara dropped some incredible information during an interview. Pardo-Mara, who was in the State Department for years since 2001, said he was being told that the Department of Defense already knew who the bomber was ahead of time that blew up, that killed the 13 servicemen and women. They knew who it was ahead of time. Not only did they know who it was, but they had a bead on him. And they contacted somebody way up the food chain to say, can we take this guy out? And whoever it was up the food chain, whether it was Joe Biden, I doubt if it was Joe. Joe was probably asleep, although it could have been.
If they asked Joe to take him out, he'd said, I think Jill already took the dog out. What are you talking about?
Anyway, they asked permission to take out this killer, this guy's, and they said no. And they said, why? They said, we don't want to upset the Taliban.
Oh, my gosh.
We're in talks with them, and we don't want to upset the Taliban.
You know, this has got so many parallels to Benghazi.
Oh, I have got that in my notes. I mean, this is Benghazi all over again.
It's just amazing that our people in Washington, our president and the people that are advising him, are so concerned about optics and the politics that they will just let Americans die. And I don't see how you can see it any other way.
So, two questions that Congress needs to ask. How long in advance do we have the eyes on the bomber prior to him setting off the bomb at the airport? And who issued the stand down? Who said no? I'd like to know the answer to those two questions.
You know what? That would have to be, I would say, it would definitely have to go all the way to the Secretary of Defense.
I would think.
Secretary
pretty high
of Defense,
up. Yeah.
the Joint Chiefs, and who's it, McKenzie that's at CENTCOM?
Yeah.
I guarantee you that decision was made by them.
One of those.
And they would have ran it up the flagpole to Biden.
If they could find him.
Yeah.
Up the flagpole.
But, you know, during all this, isn't it just amazing how you've heard nothing? You know, yesterday Biden did his press conference that was just laughable, took no questions. The day before, you know, Secretary of State Blinken and I think McKenzie with CENTCOM did a presentation. Not a word, not a peep out of the Vice President of the United States.
No.
None.
Where is she? Who knows? Biden has got his hands full. His lies are catching up with him. Town Hall and a number of other media outlets are reporting that there was a phone call that Cousin Eddie placed to the former president of Afghanistan. Just weeks before Afghanistan fell to the Taliban, Joe urged President Ghani to focus on the government's perception problem around the world. In a July 23rd phone call obtained by Reuters, Biden was concerned about the Taliban's strength at the time when the U.S. withdrawal was well underway and the Bagram Air Force Base had closed earlier in the month. That was closed back on the July 5th, about 2 weeks prior to that, almost 3 weeks. I need not tell you the perception around the world and in parts of Afghanistan, I believe, is that things are not going well in terms of the fight against the Taliban, Biden said in the 14-minute call. And there is a need, whether it is true or not, there is a need to project a different picture. In the call, Biden offered aid if Ghani could publicly project he had a plan to control the spiraling situation in Afghanistan. The president also advised Ghani to get buy-in from the powerful Afghans for a military strategy going forward and to put a warrior in charge of the effort, a reference to Defense Minister Mohammadi. Your assistance of support goes a long way to enable us to really mobilize us in earnest, Gandhi told Biden. So listen, I mean, stop and think about this. This means that Joe Biden knew that things were going south a whole lot earlier than when he said, we just had 11 days. He knew it was going south at least by July the 23rd.
Yep.
Because he's on the phone begging Ghani to, hey, we need to change the perception. Now, really what he's saying is, you need to get my fanny out of the sling. And can we remember back to a certain phone call that was an impeachable offense? How is this different from the phone call that Donald Trump made? In fact, it's probably worse, but wait a minute. You Democrats wanted to impeach Donald Trump because you said that he was withholding aid unless this guy did something. By the way, this is the second time that Biden's withheld aid, right? I mean, what about the $1 billion support
Ukraine.
that if you don't get rid of this prosecutor? And now he's back on the phone again? So are we going to impeach Joe Biden?
And son of a bee, he got fired.
Yeah.
His comments from Ukraine. Well, look, if Biden was having this conversation with Ghani in July, late July, you can believe that, that the Secretary of State, National Security Advisor, and all of his defense security advisors, they were talking about this weeks ahead.
They knew when they shut down Bagram, they knew they were in trouble right then. And they probably said, shut it down quick, otherwise we're really going to look stupid if we shut it down in the midst of this catastrophe. Wow. Is he inept? Is he senile, or is he on the side of the enemy? That's the question you've got to ask yourself. We'll be right back.
Got a trade? Now's the time at Greenville Toyota. Never in history has your trade been worth more. Get paid today. Then get a new Toyota hot off the delivery truck. Hurry before they're gone. Like Camry's $199 a month. Rush to Greenville Toyota.
Air Service is back at Pitt Greenville Airport, offering safe, clean facilities and flights from American Airlines. That means the short commute, quicker lines, and better prices that get you where you're going fast and easy. See it for yourself. There's great things inside at Pitt Greenville Airport.
Sawyer's Fun Park in Winterville is now open. With over 40,000 square feet of family fun, daily money-saving deals, and a full-service restaurant, Sawyer's Fun Park is guaranteed to have something the whole family will love. Test your ninja skills on our 2-story obstacle course or head over to one of our 5 rock walls and race your friends to the top. And when you've worked up an appetite in our laser tag arena or our one-of-a-kind ropes course, grab a table over at the restaurant and try our world-famous Southern Monster Fries. Reserve your spot today at SawyersFunPark.com and come join in on the fun.
My name is Dr. Neeti Armistead, Chief Medical Officer for Vidant Health. The following simple steps will help keep you and your community safe. Stay home as much as possible, wear a mask when out in public, avoid large gatherings, practice social distancing, and wash hands often. It's also important not to delay needed care. Vidant has taken important steps to provide you and your family with a safe environment. Learn more about COVID-19 and Vidant's response. Call 252-847-8000 or visit vidanthealth.com/COVID-19.
Acre Station Meat Farm, along with Lane Angus Beef, bring you Farm to Fork Beef.
Stock your freezers now with affordable beef boxes, just in time for the grilling season.
Farm to Fork Beef brings quality local beef to your family. From your traditional butcher shop, Acre Station Meat Farm. Come on down to Acre Station Meat Farm and find out why we're #1 in fresh cuts and friendly service.
Acre Station Meat Farm, Highway 32 North, Pinetown.
Air Service is back at Pitt Greenville Airport, offering safe, clean facilities and flights from American Airlines. That means the short commute, quicker lines, and better prices that get you where you're going fast and easy. See it for yourself. There's great things inside at Pitt Greenville Airport.
Toyota shoppers, now's the time at Greenville Toyota. Shipments of factory fresh Toyotas are arriving daily and being sold almost immediately. Like Corollas for $189 a month. Get yours before they're gone. Now's the time. Rush to Greenville Toyota.
News and views.
He's kind of a diva.
He's absolutely fascinating.
Ultimate gentleman spy. Irresistible to women, deadly to his enemies, a legend in his own time.
You won't believe what he's going to say next on Talk 96.3 and 103.7. Here's Tom Lempreck.
So before the break, we were talking about this phone call that Joe had back on July 23rd with the president of Afghanistan, Ghani, basically saying, hey, make me look better, and I've got some goodies here for you. Interestingly, this has made big news. This is not just exclusive to the conservative realm. Slowly, we're seeing some true journalists turn on Joe. But Jen Psaki was asked about this afternoon in her little press briefing, and she basically dodged the question. Let's put it that way. She said, well, I'm not going to get into private diplomatic conversations or leaked transcripts or phone calls, she said. But what I can relate to you is that we have stated many times that no one anticipated that the Taliban would be able to take over the country as quickly as they did, or that the Afghan National Security Forces would fold as quickly as they did.
I'll circle back on that one.
The whole point is, if you look at the phone call, guess what? They did know ahead of time. You weren't surprised. Unbelievable.
Yeah, and yesterday she actually said to the press that, hey, none of you guys knew it. I'm like, I was like, I don't think we had the information that you got. I mean, good gracious, that was stupid.
It is really fascinating to watch them try to squirm out of their predicaments. Keep praying for America. We'll do it again tomorrow at 5 o'clock. Play a little political trivia. See you then. Bye-bye, everybody.
All right.
We're on location at Fabric and Home Furnishings, and I'm back with my friend Lisa Pendry. And Lisa's been telling me about all the great renovations that have been going on here in the store, and I've been looking around, and it looks fantastic. Tell us what you've done here.
Well, we've knocked some walls down, we've painted, we've added some new vendors, lots of new exciting things going on. So we're making room for everybody to get what they need to transform their homes.
Looks fantastic in here. Last time we talked, you were saying that you were able to deliver a lot faster than most other furniture stores. Is that still the case?
It is. It's changed a little bit, but we're still looking at around 8 to 10 week delivery, and we do sell our floor samples right off the floor.
All right, we always say that Fabric and Home Furnishings is more than just a fabric store, so tell us what the more is all about. What when people come in, what should they expect?
Well, we love to get to know our customers. I have the best crew I've ever had, and everybody on my team is an interior designer. So we offer in-home design service, which we always have, but now they can each come out to your home after they work with you in here, figure out what's going on in your residence or your commercial property to pull it together and help you make everything beautiful.
You got great folks here.
I do.
I can tell you, I haven't gotten to know them. It's like a family when you come in here, and everybody gets along.